we get.
The heart of every man says a good is here, but life doesn't usually feel that way. Jesus speaks of narrow gates and wide roads, but the masculine journey is filled with many twists and turns. So how do we keep from losing heart while trying to find the good way when life feels more like a losing battle than something worth dying for? Grab your gear and come on a quest with your band of brothers who will serve as the guides in what we call the masculine journey. The masculine journey starts here now.
Well, welcome to the Masculine Journey. We are very glad to have you with us. We are at the weekend before boot camp. Next weekend is boot camp, and so you have just a few more days that you can sign up. Actually, you really need to kind of sign up today. We need to know who's coming to make sure we can get enough food. And trust me, we'll have enough food.
There's stakes involved. I mean, high stakes.
Yes, very good steaks. All sorts of steaks.
I got to count them out. Like how many I'm going to buy. It depends on whether or not you have registered, right?
Oh yeah, you won't get better food at a weekend than what you're going to get. I would even say it competes against a family reunion because you're not going to have that weird aunt's Jello that you have to eat. I'm just saying.
The green one?
The green one, yeah. It might be cat food, stolen from Christmas Vacation. But there's always that thing you're like, what was in that? I'm really not too sure. You're not going to have that this weekend, I can promise you that.
You have to age that particular one to get the right color green.
Yeah, it's exactly it. So it's an amazing weekend. And if you're having trouble financially getting there, don't let that hold you back. We'll help you with that. We'll find a way to help you get there. If God's calling you to be there, then you need to be there, and we'll help you get a way to do that. And so just reach out to any of us at our first name at masculinejourney.org. Start with Andy because he'd be the first to respond. Or you could reach out to any of us. But we didn't intend for this to become a series, but it has become a series, and that's what happens from time to time. I'm not talking about the masculine journey. No, we didn't intend for that to become a series either.
No.
But God had a use for it. But this particular topic, when we started a couple weeks ago with the "Open My Eyes," from the song from Paul Balachi, "Open the Eyes of My Heart, Lord," and so we've continued on that, and so far we've done warfare. We've done I don't remember what else.
Just generally open.
Yeah.
That was the first one, and then to sonship was last week.
Oh, that's right. So this is our fourth week of opening our eyes, and what we come to realize is that really is our prayer all the time.
Mm-hmm.
God, open my eyes. Open our eyes to this. Open our eyes to that. Open our eyes to you. May we see you more clearly. Right? We should have used the clip from for Beat the
Oh,
Pirates.
that's exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, if we do it this topic another week, we'll have to
Actually,
fix it.
I'm fairly certain, in fact, I am certain, the second verse in the Gimel section of the 119th Psalm is, "Open my eyes to behold wondrous things out of your law."
Wow.
One of my favorite verses, actually.
You say the Kimmel section?
Gimel.
Gimel.
The Gimli section.
Gimli section.
Not Gimli.
Yeah.
Gimel. Gimel.
My bad.
It's the third letter in the Hebrew alphabet, not unlike your C.
Okay.
But it's open our eyes to behold wondrous things out of your law. I mean, how cool is that? Because that's pretty much, Jesus is the Word, and so we get a chance to see that, and hopefully we'll do that sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to continue talking about, but this week we're taking a boot camp flavor to it. And how has God opened your eyes at a boot camp, through preparing for boot camp, anything to do with boot camp? How has God opened your eyes? And so we're going to talk about that. And Andy, you have the first clip.
So this clip we haven't used in a bit, and it's from the City Slickers. So you have these guys that go to this dude ranch to they're all kind of going through a midlife crisis and trying to figure out life in their at middle age. And that's kind of, I went to my first boot camp after a broken marriage. I think it was like 44 or something like that. And
Not 1944.
No, I was 44.
Okay.
Yeah. And, right at that time, and life wasn't working. My relationships weren't working. My job wasn't really working. I'll say relationships.
Even those relationships, so you're really into those. Yeah.
Not a whole lot was working.
How are your relationships?
And I was really caught up. This clip really, I think, was played in the, and I don't know if it was the first boot camp or whatever, but God opened my eyes up through time of understanding this clip a bit more. It's talking about your calling. It's used in that of kind of where you get this midlife crisis. You're trying to find your identity and really who you are. But I was thinking when I first saw it as a calling about what he wants me to do. But I began to realize, I'll tell you what, I'll talk about more of my perspective on it. Let's just listen to it. But you have these guys on the Dude Ranch are taking a horse ride with Curly, and he's just kind of talking to them about life. He asks them some questions about their life and kind of, gets them to thinking about really why they're there. And he kind of explains to them what his impression is of why they're there and what they're looking for. And then I'll talk about it when we get back.
Okay. I'm not hearing anything.
Funny.
You city folk, you worry about a lot here.
My wife basically told me she doesn't want me around.
She redhead.
I'm just saying.
How old are you? 38.
39.
Yeah. You all come up here about the same age, same problems. Spend about 50 weeks a year getting knots in your rope, and then you think 2 weeks up here will time for you. None of you get it. Do you know what the secret of life is?
No, what?
This.
Your finger?
One thing. Just one thing. You stick to that and everything else don't mean.
That's great, but what's the one thing?
That's what you've got to figure out.
So the visual in that picture is Curly when he holds up his finger. It's not a straight finger.
No,
He's got
it's dog leg.
Yeah,
right.
it's a dog leg right. It's probably been broken a few times doing ranch activities or whatever. But that whole thing. What's the secret to life? And that one thing, and you've got to figure it out. Well, as I look back at boot camp, what I figured out that one thing it wasn't to be involved in this ministry. It wasn't to have a good family life. It wasn't to do a lot of things. What it was, that one thing to me became realizing who I am as an individual and living in the truth of that. Everything else will flow out of that. To be designed by a creator who loves me, who has a plan for me, the best thing I can do to honor him is to live truthfully the way he created me. And you get mixed up in this false self of who you think you are, who you're trying to impress, all that stuff. And that's what these guys were. They were lost in all of that. They were lost in their relationships and their identity through work and all that. And, that fuels everything else to me. And I don't always do it, but I know that that's what is in my heart to do, is to live truthfully to who he created to be.
Yeah, and what is that identity for you, Andy? First and foremost, what would you say your identity is?
A son.
That's right. I knew you were going to say that. Yeah.
Got to go there. I wasn't going to use that as the obvious.
Not
an orphan.
We
Yeah.
just came off that the last week. It would have been too redundant to say that right out of the box. But essentially, that's it. It's
Well, I wanted you to say it.
Yeah,
I wasn't
no,
poking fun at you
no,
this
no.
time. At the core, when you understand that, it changes everything.
No, it's you're born again. You're born into who that father is.
Right.
And the more opportunity you have to actually walk with him in autistic, in an authentic way,
Mhm.
which you can't just do every place.
Mhm.
But at a boot camp, you get a chance to see something you don't really see. Men that are actually vulnerable, available, opportunities
Yeah.
to come and go. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Sure.
Well, when you think about the things we cover at a boot camp, the different topics, every one of them is designed to attack your identity and your union with God.
It's not designed to attack your identity and
Oh no,
union with
yeah.
God.
I mean, sorry, I didn't say that.
We're giving you weapons to fight
Yeah.
that attack.
Every talk we do is how the enemy
Come
designed.
to a boot camp and be attacked.
How do we attack God's word? No, it's not that. Thank you. I didn't say that. It was correct in my head. It didn't come out correctly. But no, everything that we talk about at a boot camp, opens your eyes to how you've been attacked and
Oh,
how your
you're right.
relationship,
Good word.
how you've been, your relationship with God's been
Salted.
attacked.
Yeah.
Right? And so we do warfare,
Mm-hmm.
our woundedness,
Mm-hmm.
Or opposing.
our opposing, our vision of who God is, what the world's told us God is, what our heart's desires really were meant to be, that we're good.
Yeah.
All those things build on it, and there's much, much more. How the beauty's confused it along the way, right? And our how we see the beauty has confused it is really the real part of it. And so all of that, Andy, is core at that question. And I loved what he had to say there, Curly had to say there. It's really true. We spend, 50 weeks a year getting knots in our tail, knots in our rope, and I think 2 weeks is going to unwind them. And that's part of the key of that wisdom that Curly had there is you got to continually unwind that, not let it get knotted up.
A boot camp, you're not going to get them all unwound, but you're going to get some clarity on how they're wound, and you'll come out of a boot camp with some tools of how to move forward and get untangle them
Well, at
as you
least
go down the line.
those guys, right? They're pursuing it, and they're at least taking one of their weeks or 2 of their
absolutely,
weeks.
yeah.
In our case, we do it twice a year, coincidentally.
Mm-hmm.
But at least pursuing the idea that, man, something's not the way it ought to be.
That's right. Yeah. You get illumination, you get understanding more of. I say this many times. I felt like I had a certain knowledge of God. I know Him much deeper, but what I also know is myself much better. The brokenness in myself, but the trueness of who I am. And when you put all that together, it's just you just have a different walk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as you've been doing these for a while, attending them, being a part of them, you realize that every one of these dovetail into the other.
Oh yeah.
Right. We do a talk on warfare, right? Which we've talked about many times. We did just a couple weeks ago. And so on that warfare, but it's warfare in my woundedness. It's warfare in my relationships. It's warfare here in my relationship with God. Where's that been attacked? And so all these themes kind of continue to go through, and you do walk away with some tools, but what you walk away with, more importantly, as a person to walk through with you is God.
Yeah.
Right. In a closer intimacy.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say that, you just come out with, things, prayers to pray or that. It's much more than that. You come on, you have a guide, and it's God, obviously, but you have more understanding and you have a way to fight. So.
Well, definitely the tools make a difference. It's what questions do I take to God?
Right.
What's it look like to talk with God? Those kinds of things. Go to masculinejourney.org to register for the upcoming boot camp. It's not November. That's our next one. It's March 12th through 15th. We'll talk to you after the break.
Next week.
Yeah.
Here are the contest
you're
rules for the Truth Network. Prizes won are not transferable, redeemable for cash, or exchangeable for any other prize. All prizes must be redeemed for the station within 30 days of winning. Only one prize per household
You did.
for any station
That was good.
broadcasting
Yeah.
within any 30 days.
It's
The rest
easy
of our
to trip
contest
this
rules
way.
are listed
I've noticed
up
you
here.
around here.
Yeah, I was my warfare
Thanks for
was
playing
before.
and listening to the Truth Network.
Tied up in knots, right?
To the big-hearted, bold, the teachers, the growers, the builders, the change makers. We need you. We are the Peace Corps. In more than 60 countries, we go the distance to make a difference. We're volunteers, partners, communities, bringing our experience, joy, and passion to building a better world together. Are you looking for more? Then we are looking for you. Join us at peacecorps.gov.
Show me your glory. Send down your presence. I wanna see your face. Show me your glory. Majesty shines above you. I can't go on without you.
Welcome back to Masculine Journey. That was Third Day. A little bit of history with me in Third Day. Okay, I didn't necessarily like Third Day. It wasn't their message. It's just this lead singer always reminded me of another lead singer of another group that I didn't really care for that much. Right? And
Guilt by association.
Yeah, it was a different genre altogether. you know, and I'm like,
And
that
who
just,
would that be?
it was Travis Tritt. But I just didn't get him. I didn't like him. And when I hear Mac what's his face sing,
Mac Powell.
yeah,
Mac, you hear this?
yeah,
Please don't call into the show.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful, right? I just was like, you know, it kind of reminds me of this guy. I don't, and I've learned to almost like Travis Tritt a little bit. I'm not anything against him personally. I don't know him, but no.
How about Max What's-his?
Yeah, Mac what's his face. And so, no, but you know, I made the statement. You know, I don't really care for their music, and it was after a boot camp in Colorado. I was riding down with a friend of mine, and he was playing some songs, and this song came on, and it just absolutely floored me. Because I'd just been at a boot camp, and God had revealed a lot of his glory to me in very small chunks, because that's all I could even try to grasp, you know, or all my heart could handle, or my mind could handle at the time. And ever since then, I've really appreciated their group, and I absolutely love this song. You know, and it brings me to tears every time I listen to the whole thing, because it's such an intimate memory of that time with God. And when we're talking about opening your eyes, you know, we're really saying, God, show me you. Right? And both those songs are very common in that. It's like, show me who you are, you know, and show me who I am to you.
Right.
Yeah. So you experienced some third day repentance, right?
I am. I feel like I got to write a letter. Not that you please, but
Call him by his real name.
yeah. I'll get his last name down.
I think at this point it's Mr. Powell.
It probably is.
Dear Travis, I mean Mac.
Yeah.
But you know, that idea that you just described, you know, show me your glory, is so much of what we actually say in the very first talk. We say this is going to be a treasure hunt after the heart of God. And when you start looking around in there, that's glorious, unbelievably glorious, but fascinatingly, we were made in his image. So as you get a look into the heart of God, right, you begin to see, oh my goodness, I have that heart because he, you know, has that heart. And so, you know, I know this clip that's coming up is fascinating. Movie called The Perks of Being a Wallflower, which I honestly never heard anything. I began to study the movie as I saw this clip, because this clip is so outstanding that now I got to see the movie, because it's very compelling. If you've been to many boot camps, you hear this story often. As the hero of the story, Charlie, was sexually abused by an aunt. And that led to, especially when he got to that puberty age, some gigantic anxiety and things in his life that made him not want to be seen, which is that idea of the perks of being a wallflower is nobody knows you're there. And of course, he was covered in shame and all these things that a lot of us feel, whether we want to admit it or not. And we want to sink into the woodwork and not get out of our chair and those kind of things. And so, you know, this clip is this young man who's been awakened to the fact that he can be engaged, and what awakens him is friends, a community that gathers around him, that he realizes that he's seen, he's appreciated, he's loved. He's got a band of brothers, and better than that, in his case, he's got a sister, so he's got a girl that he's fallen in love with. I don't, you know, how it all works together. But I love the last line in this clip, and I got a little more to say after we play the clip.
I found the tunnel song. Let's drive.
I don't know if I will have the time to write any more letters, because I might be too busy trying to participate. So if this does end up being the last letter, I just want you to know that I was in a bad place before I started high school, and you helped me. Even if you didn't know what I was talking about, or know someone who's gone through it, you made me not feel alone. Because I know there are people who say all these things don't happen. And there are people who forget what it's like to be 16 when they turn 17. I know these will all be stories someday, and our pictures will become old photographs. We'll all become somebody's mom or dad. But right now, these moments are not stories. This is happening. I am here, and I am looking at her, and she is so beautiful. I can see it. Just one moment when you know you're not a sad story. You are alive. And you stand up and see the lights on the buildings and everything that makes you wonder. And you're listening to that song and that drive with the people you love most in this world. And in this moment, I swear, we are infinite.
Yes, we are. We are infinite, and we've lost so much that he talks about that's so precious. And wouldn't you like to get back that feeling of the first girl that you saw that light in and just absolutely delighted in that moment? And wouldn't you like to get back that feeling of adventure and some of those things that you, when you were 15 or 16, not willing to stand up in the back of the pickup truck as he is in this particular case? And there's a part of us that we left behind. And it's God's glory, and it's part of our identity that Andy talked about. And my own experience through boot camp, I had attempted suicide, not like Charlie. There was some real shenanigans that had gone on in my life that I was not at all aware of. Until God started to press in on him. And he can't press in on him unless you take the time to go someplace and get into a covenant of silence and ask God some deep questions like you were talking about, Sam. And in asking those questions, I came to realize that, oh my goodness, I had been assaulted. Oh my goodness, that I had attempted suicide. And there was a reason that I had attempted suicide. And all those things I'd left behind was my heart. And it gave me the opportunity to get the forgiveness that I needed for the people that were involved in all those shenanigans. But more importantly than that, because God had already forgiven me, I had never forgiven myself. And to get that forgiveness takes work and commitment, and you can go through some pain to get there. But to get your eyes opened up and to have that big, huge piece of your heart back so you can offer that back to the people that you love today, your family, your wife, that she can get a wholehearted person and all that, it's priceless. And I loved his last word, because holiness has to do with proximity to God. The closer you are to God, the closer you are to holiness. And as you get close to God, not only do you feel the fire and all the things that we're describing there, but God lives in infinity. And so when you get close to him, all of a sudden time is immaterial, and you are simultaneously the person that you were at 3 years old, the person that you were at 15 years old, and the person that you are today. And all that is glorious when you get a chance to taste it and see it. But also it requires people like Charlie had around him that allow you to be yourself and love you unconditionally. And, that environment isn't so easy to find either.
No, it's not. And Robbie, you bring up a point. A lot of times people, even if they can remember what happened to them in the past, they live with this disbelief, this lie that, well, it's in the past, I can't do anything about it anyway. Well, no, you can't. That is correct in it, but God can and does and will. And then once you experience him taking you back into a painful time when you were younger, at a younger age, and you get that piece of you back, it's so precious. It doesn't make me so excited to run through it again because it's a painful process, but I'm looking forward to coming out on the other side of that, and I'm willing to go wherever God wants to take me on it. But it's such a wonderful thing because God is absent of time. He's not held restricted by it, right? And so he can take you back to these places that you didn't even remember, as you said, and help you remember those things and help you heal from those things.
Yeah, and it's fascinating. You're opening the eyes of your own heart to your own story. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about, but it's absolutely available, and it's mind-blowing.
You think about the way he does that usually is to take us back to that point, right? And Sammy made mention of that you don't like going there, And there's a reason you don't like them, because it hurts. However, if we read these little fairy tales as a little kid about the lion with the thorn in his paw. Well, that's who we are, right? We're this lion who's angry or upset or sad or hurt or wants to be a wallflower because of these thorns, that arrows, if you will. That's what the scriptures call them, as arrows in our heart from the enemy. And it's one thing for God to go, hey, Andy, you're healed of that. It's totally another thing for God to take you back to that place and say, yeah, here's what happened. Here's what didn't happen. And yes, I'm healing you from that. And to get that relief at that point. I mean, I can talk about surgeries that I had. I can talk about, broken things. I can talk about days laying in bed, not, knowing when finally a day was going to happen where I could get up and walk again, and that sort of without pain. And yet that gradually happens, and it's not nearly as vivid, and it's not nearly as joyful of a memory as going back there and then getting that healing. We're scared of that, but the healing is so much more powerful when God does that, when we let him.
Yeah, we talk about the healing, and that is a powerful part of the weekend, right? But there's so much more to that. If you have questions about who you are, questions about who God is, things you can't even articulate, questions about what your calling might be, it's time for you to come to a boot camp. Go to masculinejourney.org to register. Again, if you're having trouble getting there financially, don't let that hold you up. We will help you find a way to get there. Just reach out to us. But register this week. We'd love to see you next weekend. And thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.
And we are still streaming?
Yeah, we are still streaming.
Not streaming. Very good.
Next show, Darren, you have yours to share. Harold has his to share. I have mine to share, and Andy, you got the Braveheart Trail.
We'll start with yours because you've got the clip.
And I can do it last too. It doesn't matter. All right. We can throw the clip in wherever we want on that one.
Come to me last.
Okay. Harold, you'll be second. Okay. Art, you got anything you want to add?
If you've got extra time.
Oh, I always have time for you, Art. So we'll definitely throw it to you too.
Okay.
Okay. We'll do that.
Did you guys see Corey's text?
Yeah.
Yeah. You made sense of it, I hope? Okay.
Good. The one to the group?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you got, Harold.
Try to find that text that you just mentioned.
Well, we can talk about it after the show.
Oh.
She gave me to on my phone. It's in monster font that you can see. So it's huge.
So how's your brother?
I don't think I've talked to him since I talked to you. I talked to him this week too. But he's just still fighting the cancer.
I don't know if you guys remember Larry George.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the hospice, and when I was at the NRB, he called me to tell me.
We're still in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
He called me to tell me these were, just to say goodbye. Fortunately, he's still with us. And I was going to tell you, Sam, I originally talked about you being on this weekend, but and I hope Larry makes it to the weekend.
Yeah.
If he does, he's going to be on with his aunt.
Oh, perfect.
But, she did hope, she took care of you all those years, or whatever. It was I'm trying to remember the name of the radio show she did, but anyway, I'm really excited. And she'd ask him in a podcast some really pointed questions like, what does it feel like when you know you're going to die in a few days? And some of those discussions. So I'm excited to hear what, because Larry's an amazing person. He's lived an amazingly fruitful life from the standpoint of ministry. And excited to have Karen on there. I will still give away every
That's right.
certainly for and mention it, of course.
Yeah, that'll free up my Saturday a little bit, so that's good.
But I didn't want to miss this opportunity if I could have Karen in.
Absolutely.
Larry, of course, if he passes, then
Hope for the hurting.
Hope for the care. Oh, you mean the other?
Hope of the Morning is the new thing I do.
No, I mean that she used to.
Hers was called Wisdom of the Wounded.
Wisdom of the Wounded.
And that was Karen.
Well, it's close.
Yeah.
It's in the ballpark.
Oh, a neat show.
Yeah, some kind of careful.
Yeah, it was a W and a W, not an H and an H.
Hope for the hurting, Wisdom of the Wounded.
Yes.
You say potato.
Oh, yeah.
And the wounded usually have some wisdom to share.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Show me the glory.
I mean,
right, Sam?
I remember
Mac, what's his name?
Larry.
Said that.
You said,
What's
Matt,
up,
what's
Mac?
his name? Is his name Powell?
Yeah.
That is.
Big.
I remember Larry having a really massive breakthrough because God told Mike G and a couple of other guys to go pray over him.
As a first sprint.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. He is a good friend.
Yeah, he bought my dad's motorhome.
He loved motorhomes. Somebody's ringing.
Not me.
Sydney?
Might have been you, Art.
Yeah, that's 1-800-ART.
The bat
For
phone.
Art now.
The Artful Dodger.
Art, are you gonna wear a different hat every week when you come in? Okay. I just wondered. I noticed.
I don't know if you guys have seen, and it's not funny, but it actually is. The Saturday Night Live skit from last Saturday with the guy playing Trump with the hat, that Trump always wears, and he's got this other guy that says Secretary of War. And it shouldn't be funny, and it's just wrong, but it's hilarious.
No, I haven't seen it.
It's like,
I'm putting my stake in the ground there.
okay.
I haven't watched Saturday Night Live in 100 years. I'm not ever going to see the movie E.T., and I will never go to Disney World or Disneyland.
Okay.
I know we're playing for movie night.
Oh, one thing. One thing.
It's either Curly or E.T.
He's an extraterrestrial Curly.
E.T. one thing.
It's the phone home. That was his one thing. Apparently, he said it the whole movie.
Phone home. That's funny.
I see Curly riding in the basket.
They have that right.
Accomplish that with AI,
Good.
That's Jack Palance in a
There's a
basket.
great meme in there someplace.
I didn't watch all of Saturday Night Live. I just like to look at their skits that they do.
Yeah.
But one of the things he said, of course, Trump had to do it at 2 a.m. to totally humiliate and frustrate the Saturday Night Live writers. You think about it, man. They had to respond to that thing. They had to come up with a skit, obviously, within hours of the attack. And it was like, I don't know who wrote that, but that was genius. They've been within 2 weeks of nuclear weapons for the last 15 years. It was just, like they have a way of making me laugh. But many things have a way of making me laugh.
I'll give it to you. They're funny often.
I'm so disconnected from the news. I didn't even know that we bombed Iran for like a day or two. It's not even part of my life, news of any kind. I look at the weather on my phone. I don't really listen
They
much.
have news on TikTok now, Sam.
Yeah, I don't trust it.
I have all these people in my life, like Dr. Carson, who gets a delight because he knows I never watch the news, never know anything about it. So I'm doing the remote at the Men's Summit. And he comes in and he goes, "So I don't suppose you know we're at war." I'm like, "No, I don't know that."
We're always at
Yes,
war.
We've been talking about that for years
Yeah.
on the radio.
Yes. And he goes into all, and he knows all the details of, and I don't know who said it today, but they wiped out the next whole group of people that were going to be so like, who wants to be the next Ayatollah? It's like they're going back.
It's like the immediate bullseye.
Yes.
Yeah, we got about whatever. We got 47, whatever, 20 or 30 or something.
No, I don't know. I thought this one started at 7:47.
It does.
So you're right. I always think that big OJ. So far away or something. Matt, what's his name?
Coming to you from an entrenched barricade deep in the heart of central North Carolina. Masculine Journey After Hours. A time to go deeper and be more transparent on the topic covered on this week's broadcast. So sit back and join us on this adventure. The Masculine Journey After Hours starts here now.
Welcome to Masculine Journey After Hours. We are glad to be talking about the topic we're talking about today. Yes, we're continuing the topic of Open the Eyes. This time on Open the Eyes, how God opened your eyes at boot camp. And so this is our 4th week of our eyes being opened.
After hours, it's harder to open your eyes.
It is. We're kind of tired. We've already done one show.
Next month will be, I can see clearly.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah. But anyway, we were talking about how our eyes have been opened at or through a boot camp and what God's been doing, and we're going to continue that topic. Partly because that's been powerful to us, and secondly, there's a boot camp coming up, and I know you hear it every week, but I got to remind you, you need to go register now. It is next weekend, right? And so you have time to register, but you need to do it today, right?
That's March 12th through the 15th. That would be Tuesday or something by the time you listen to the podcast.
That's true, but you could still do it then. You just got to do it soon. So we know we got to buy food and things like that, but more importantly, we need to pray over who all's coming in. So we want to make sure we know. I think you're going to add something there, right?
I just thought that was well said.
Well, thank you. Okay, well, yeah. Wow.
Sam,
Anyway,
what's his name?
Yeah, Sam, what's his name? Yeah, I probably owe an apology to that guy. Anyway,
What?
no, I know what it is. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, go listen to the last show. And yes, I do apologize. That was very callous of me. I didn't mean it that way. Anyway, you'll have to listen to the first show to figure that out. All right, so on to how God opened my eyes to more of that, I'm sure. How God, I'm the first one to go on this segment of the show on how God opened my eyes, and He's done it many ways at different boot camps. Every boot camp, He opens my eyes to something, right? And so we could talk about this for days and days and days, and we can never even try to articulate what all God's done, just even at a boot camp for each of us. But this is from Goodwill Hunting. It's a clip that we've used pretty frequently. We always had to get creative when we cut this clip, creative because it's got a lot of language in it. So you're going to hear some little edits out. But it's where Robin Williams, as his counselor, Will has gone through, he was in foster care for many years, if you haven't seen the movie. Very brutal time through foster care. A lot of that involved abuse of lots of ways. Will is an incredibly smart kid and young man at this point. Could be attending any school he wanted to, but he's choosing to be a janitor at MIT. And just to be around all those people and not be called out. He wants to be a wallflower, as Robbie talked about from the last show. And so he's gotten in trouble with the police many, many times, and he has a court-ordered counselor he has to see. He goes through a series of those until he lands on Sean, which is played by Robin Williams. And there's just something that works. There's something that sticks, and they connect at a deep level. And so as Will's been starting to let his life unpack, we get down to this scene where Robin Williams brings it home about what's going on with him. So we're going to listen to that.
He used to just put a wrench, a stick, and a belt on the table and just say choose.
I gotta go with the belt there, Vanna.
I used to go with the wrench.
Why the wrench?
His family, that's why.
The foster family.
Yeah. So, what is it like? Will has an attachment disorder? Is it all that stuff? Fear of abandonment? Is that why I broke up with Skylar?
I didn't know you had.
I did.
You want to talk about it?
No.
You will? I don't know a lot. You see this? All of it. It's not your fault. Look at me, son. It's not your fault.
I know.
It's not your fault.
I know.
No. It's not your fault.
I know.
It's not your fault.
Right.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Don't. It's not your fault.
Don't look with me, all right? Don't. I'm not you. It's not your fault.
Oh my God. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Very uplifting clip. That's been used on the Wound Talk, and it's one of the final clips often. From that, for me, it was really powerful when I saw it for the first time, and continued to be powerful at all the different boot camps for different reasons. And what the enemy's good at is the enemy's good at convincing you at some level, at your deepest level, that the bad things that's happened to you in your life, when you really get down to it, you had something to contribute to that. You're part of the reason it happened, right? And I didn't really realize that for a long time. And I've been doing boot camps for a while before I got, which I hope is a final breakthrough on that. I mean, there may be more that God's working on. But, as I'd had been molested by a family member when I was a young kid, just preteen time, a little bit before that, I found it relatively easy to forgive that person. It was surprisingly pretty easy to. And I couldn't figure out why I wasn't still getting breakthrough, what was going on. I'd forgiven people. God, you called me to forgive, until they kept pressing on this, and God had to tell me in many different ways, many different times, and through many different loving people, counselors, friends, and lots of people, that saying what happened to you was not your fault. And as long as you hold on to it, you can say like Will does, yeah, I know. No, I know. Because logically, I know, right? But knowledge never equals healing. There's not the same thing. I can have knowledge of my woundedness. And I walked around with knowledge of it for a long time, right? I didn't remember it for several years, but God brought it to me at my first boot camp. And I walked around for another series of time, understanding that I had this wound, understanding how it hurt me, but not having healing from it because I didn't let the word sink in that it's not your fault. And when I could finally accept that, I really could truly get freedom, right? It was the last hold that the enemy had on me. And so that's always been a powerful clip to me, and a special clip to me, because, even though it has a lot of rough language and a lot of things in it when we use it at boot camp, it really gets to the point of where the enemy holds us hostage often in our woundedness, is that even if there's some truth that you contributed to it, he makes you think that it's all on you.
I think that's one of his best lies. And the reason it is, I'll speak in my case. There are many wounds that I have that were not my fault. And there are some self-inflicted wounds, right? And we all have that. I mean, we call that sin in essence. And so Satan conflates those two ideas. Well, you know all those times you sinned, all the things that you chose to do that nobody did to you, or blah, 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 all those different things, right? And so Satan is constantly, that's why he's called the accuser, right? Because he's accusing you of things that perhaps you did, but he's also accusing you of things that you didn't do, but feel a lot like the ones you might have done. And it doesn't matter. Ultimately, God is forgiving you of all of those things, but we live in a society that doesn't count it good that one should forgive himself of our shortcomings. We live in a John Wayne world still. I mean, a lot of youngsters listening to us might not even know who John Wayne is, but we still live in that world, especially here in the Western world and in the United States specifically. And Satan uses that. And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I blew it sometimes. I did inflict some wounds on myself and others. But that doesn't mean that all the wounds you've gotten were your fault, or that you're not forgiven.
Yeah. He tries to convince you somehow you had a play in it, that you were part of that role, and often that's not the case. Harold, I'd like to ask you what boot camp opened your eyes to.
Well, I came from a background of a religious group that really places emphasis on the Word. If you can't find it in the Word, then it's not real, and you can't have anything to do with it. When I came to the boot camp, and I'm hearing about listening prayer, I'm hearing about a word. God, give me a word for this year. And all of a sudden I'm confronted with, well, can I hear from God? And how can I know it is from God if I hear something? Because it's going to be between my ears. It's not going to be verbal. And so I came away realizing that, yeah, if I really try to talk to God, I need to listen as well. And that's a difficult thing for many of us. We tend to have a one-way conversation with God. So listening prayer and finding a word for the year are very important things to me that came strictly from exposure to boot camp and through the Masculine Journey team, being a part of that.
Thank you, Harold. Yeah, often our prayers are a monologue and not a dialogue.
Exactly.
As he's saying, I mean, I think about some of the times that God opened up my eyes at boot camp, and Harold was involved in these listening prayer exercises where we would sit down with a group of guys and say, okay, we're all just going to listen, see who God wants to speak to, And the most remarkable one was always for me at the boys' camp that time, and I'm sitting there with a bunch of 12, 13-year-old boys, and 12 or 13-year-old boys get to giggling, and they couldn't stop. And I'm sitting there, God, what do you want me to do? Nothing. Let them laugh. And they giggled, and they laughed, and they giggled, and they laughed. For 20 minutes, like this went on. I was just like, man, this is humiliating. My God, I'm hoping these people will hear something. And then all of a sudden it started. One of them said, I think I'm hearing whatever the boy's name was. Another one confirms it. And then all of a sudden they start hearing things that they want to speak into these boys' lives. And as outstanding as all that was, and it was outstanding just to watch God work. We get up and leave, and I go towards the kitchen, and the one boy comes up, and Mr. Robbie, did I really hear from God? You know, what do you think? Well, there were 2 or 3 of them that were, next thing I know, almost everybody in that group had understood that God just would herald. He'd open up their eyes to the fact that they actually could hear from God, because one of the boys heard something about a boy's name that turned out to be his middle name, and then it connected some other dots to what had been said that you wouldn't know. That clearly was just delineated that way. And we've had that happen through listening prayer, which takes, in my opinion, the courage to even have the exercise, because every time we want to do listening prayer, I don't know.
Yeah. As much as we've seen it work, we're always like, oh man, is it going to work this time?
Because you feel like you're standing out there on a, you know, like in Indiana Jones, walking out on an unseen bridge. Like, God, you better come through, because otherwise this is, you know. But every time, you know, it just, some of the most precious boot camp memories were listening prayer, where we got to see God touch somebody's heart with something that changed their life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Harold.
The covenants of silence.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the time to do it, when you're out there and you have the quiet time with God.
So it can be a group activity like Robbie was just talking about, or it can be just one-on-one with God through a covenant of silence.
Yeah, it shouldn't sound like you're out on a limb with some of the questions you ask God, but it sure feels that way. You know, to ask God, what do you really think of me? Wow, I mean, I know me, and He knows me better. That's a scary question. You know? But anyway, Art, over to your turn, Art. I'll put the camera on you.
That's good, right there.
Yeah.
You got me right in the middle. My eyes were opened at the very first boot camp I went to. I had not been a part of this group for very long, but I came to the boot camp, and I was just amazed at how much work all the guys were doing to put this on, the amount of work they were putting into their presentations, the organization, the timing, the getting the meals right, and setting everything up. And I just like to say that, you know, it's I actually saw God's Spirit in each one of these guys. It was working. It was pushing them to be to the far extent of their talent to be a part of this. It really takes a lot of dedication, a lot of work, and obviously God is behind all of it. And I guess you could just take me for example. I used to be and it seems like a lifetime ago now. I was just a lab rat. I worked in a laboratory, and believe it or not, I actually really enjoyed doing that. But at the time, you know, I never thought that I would be like part of a radio broadcast. You know, it was the furthest thing from my mind. But one thing, you know, God led me through one thing and then another thing, and His Spirit was in me. It brought me here, and now I'm a regular part of this group.
Absolutely, very, very vital part of the group. Thank you.
Thank you. I run the cameras. You know, what else? You know. Okay.
Yeah, you wear a different hat every week. You always keep us on our edge. No, thank you, Art. Darren, over to you, buddy. What's God laid on your heart on this topic this week?
Specifically, when you threw the question out, the first thing that came to me was not necessarily being at a boot camp as a participant, but being at a boot camp as a leader. Some of the first boot camps that you and I, you know, put on together with Mark and others and Jim and I, believe it or not, there's no boot camp that goes by that doesn't have significant amounts of warfare involved, or significant amounts of just pressure, you know, that we all feel, because we're doing it seemingly for others, right? I mean, we're doing all this work to bless other people, and you want it to hit hard, right? I mean, you want it to land, and so you try to put forth all this effort. And there was one particular boot camp that Sam and I were primarily leading, and we had some helpers who happened to be our wives, and they were great helpers. But one particular day, they didn't really come through the way that we had asked them to come through to be back in a certain amount of time for the guys, because it was really hot. And
They were being Mary instead of Martha. Right?
they were having fun. That's the reality of it. They were having fun, and I'm glad they were having fun. But we needed a bunch of cold water and all that kind of thing, and we'd run out, and the guys had just come in from playing paintball and all that stuff, and I was furious. And rather than be a nice, loving husband that I should have been, I was not, and I was pretty rough with all three of them, and two of them weren't my wife. So, and rather than them, pulling me out behind the woodpile and just beating the daylights out of me, they just didn't say a word, and they went away. They did what we asked them to do, and then they went off on their own, and they started praying for the idiot who had just rebuked them. And then later on that day, those three ladies came back to me and were so gracious and began to pray over me, which just totally shattered my heart. But the realization, the thing that God opened my eyes to at that moment, and it still is one of the most powerful times in my life, is these ladies really love me. They love me unconditionally. They do it even when I'm a jerk. And they're showing me this kind of grace, and I can't handle it. I struggle to handle that grace from a human, and these very, very gracious, lovely people. And if that's true, how much more do I struggle to accept God's grace, which is immensely more needed? Maybe not if you ask those three ladies, but from my perspective, God knows every sin I've committed, and He knows all of the evil thoughts I've had or the mean things I've said or done, and He loves me even more than that. And it just rocked me to my core that I really struggle with accepting God's grace, and what do I do with that? And I don't ever want to be flippant with it, but in that moment I was terribly uncomfortable accepting that grace from those people. And you and Mark, actually, because you're the husbands of those two women that I kind of rebuked. And so it was just an immensely wonderful gift that they gave me, and they showed me the glory of God to forgive. And the thing that opened my eyes was, I'm not sure I can handle that. And so I still think back about that often when I'm struggling and not feeling very good about myself, and trying to reconnect with God on that level, knowing full well He's there, but just remembering, okay, it's a struggle, but He's there. Even if I'm not feeling it, even if I'm not wanting to accept it, He's still offering it. So,
yeah, it's amazing how forgiveness opens up doors you never thought that it would.
Yeah.
Not only within you, but just in others.
Yeah.
When they genuinely feel your grace, the grace laid upon you from them, that it's a game changer. Right, for everybody. Andy, you have another clip you'd like to play?
Yeah, another 2 for 1.
Yeah. Clip you along.
That's it. So boot camp did what my eyes were open to was the power of story or film in getting this message. It's about the heart. We talked many times about how movies can be used like modern day parables, When you go to these boot camp talks, it's not a continuous, we're talking at you for an hour. To make the points and to open up your heart, clips are used. And I didn't know that. I remember watching some of these powerful movies, dramas, adventures that would make my heart come alive, and then I had to go back to work on Monday. And I was like, what? There was a disconnect. They were there. The movies were there and impacted me and impacted my emotions and opened up my heart. But again, I had to go back, and there was no way to really put them together. And whenever the talks would be given and these clips would, okay, yeah, go ahead and play it. Sorry about that.
That's all right. We'll talk about it. It's a trailer to Braveheart.
That's right.
Yeah.
I came back home to raise crops and, God willing, a family.
So you want me to marry you then?
Well, that's a bit sudden, but all right.
Is that what you call a proposal?
I love you. Always have. I want to marry you.
In a land of timeless beauty, William Wallace was a man of peace.
I want to stay here with you.
And I with you.
You say you want to stay out of the troubles? If I can live in peace, I will.
But when they threatened his world,
Edward Longshanks is the most ruthless king ever to sit on the throne of England.
Scotland, my land, and the woman he loved,
I want a home and shelter. It's all for nothing if you don't have freedom.
he was driven to war.
Go back to England and tell them there that Scotland's daughters and their sons are yours no more. The rebellions began.
Under whom? William Wallace. He rallies new volunteers in every Scottish town. But come to fight and to die for you.
Stand up, man. I'm not the Pope.
Get a flock of your finest assassins and set a meeting.
My lord, Wallace is renowned for his ability to smell an ambush.
He will dispatch our future queen with the notion that she comes in peace.
Longshanks desires peace.
He declares it to me, I swear it.
You tell your king, William Wallace will not be ruled, nor will any Scot while I live.
He waits for you at York. If you are man enough to come and face him.
I need help.
Because of the way you are looking at me now.
Where are you going?
I'm going to pick a fight.
Well, you didn't get dressed up for nothing.
We can't beat it out. We can't. And we will. Would you be willing, for one chance, just one chance, to tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom?
Andy, if you want to go ahead and just take us
Yeah,
home on
yeah.
the rest of your, I cut you off earlier.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, that we use Braveheart a lot, and Braveheart speaks to depths of our soul, or my soul, and it really, it just energized me to really open my heart up to the power of story. But again, Braveheart, we use that. We would play just the soundtrack in between sessions, and it would bring your heart alive. It would prepare it. It was like smelling salts for what's going to go on at boot camp, and it's just a powerful thing. It's another way that God uses, the Holy Spirit uses, to get access to your heart and allows you to come alive as a man.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons we love to use clips from secular things as well as Christian is God's story is in the midst of it.
Right.
You know, it may be around a lot of other stuff that's not his story, but those things that speak to your heart and bring you alive are coming from his story. So lean back into him and ask him about it. Go to mascojourney.org to register for boot camp.
Sorry, long-winded there.
No, you were fine, dude. That was
great.
You did great. You wrapped up good. I just was looking at the time. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, we're not going to get that in.
Yeah. Well, I thought